Hello, my name is Alan from ABTS Training Services in London, England. And during this webinar, I'm going to talk to you about working in international logistics, or putting it another name on it, finding a career in international logistics. I want to show you how a career in logistics can be challenging and rewarding. And logistics offers so many possibilities. It's a vehicle for you to move forward in your career. It's not a static job. That is the one of the wonderful things about working in logistics. And as you can see already, I'm particularly enthusiastic about logistics. Okay, so just let me give you a quick background to underline what I've just said about it's a wonderful career path. It's interesting and, dare I say, exciting at times. So let me just give you a quick CV to put everything in perspective. I entered logistics many, many years ago, purely by chance. It never entered my career mind that I should get involved in logistics. Never. My discipline, my training was as an accountant. Completely different than logistics. So my path in logistics started off purely by chance, and I thank the stars for that I saw the light, so to speak. It started off by as I was working for a company as what we used to call in the good old days as an office manager, an accountant office manager. And I became involved with an importation we were having from Chicago in the USA. And I had phone calls from freight forwarders and a clearing agent, and there was lots of problems involved with this consignment. And the more I got involved, the more I liked it. I found there was a buzz there. It was totally different than a disciplined accountant. It gave you wings. You could think for yourself. So I decided there and then, that's it. From now on, I'm going to pursue a career in logistics, international logistics, and which I did for about 40 years, which I did. And during those 40 years, as I learned more, and bearing in mind it was learning on the hoof, as they say, we didn't have colleges or further education we could go to in the evening to study logistics. There was a few books around, mainly from memory coming out of America, but that's besides the point. So I took a heck of a dive in salary, and I started off in a company in London in the UK as a import clerk. Really hit me financially and prestige-wise. It wasn't very nice. What are you? I'm an import clerk. But I learned, I absorbed everything like a sponge. The more I learned, the more excited I was about international trade. I thought this is wonderful. Logistics is so challenging. The whole shebang is challenging. Okay, so moving very fast forward. Eventually, I handed in my notice, as they say, and I opened my own freight forwarding business. From that freight forwarding business, I became a logistics consultant. And I was very fortunate to work as an independent consultant for about 12 years with the UN, with the various UN bodies, UNHCR, UNICEF, WHO, lots of these guys. Very privileged. And my job is to go around the world, literally go around the world, training UN staff and also problem solving. with local governments, import departments, etc., bringing relief aid in, etc., etc., etc. So I didn't mind if I wasn't paid a penny. It was the buzz, it was the honor to be working with the UN, to helping getting food into refugees through the logistical hotspots. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I went on from there and I was invited to set up a course, a MBA International Business course in a university in London, a well-known university in London. I set that course up, and for the first term from memory, maybe 2 terms, I forget. I was the lecturer. So I was lecturing, facilitating, and writing an MBA International Business course. Very rewarding, mentally and financially. Very, very rewarding. And that grew. That grew. And I found myself as a guest lecturer at a university in Izmir in Turkey, and as a consultant. Now, that started off by me being involved in a importation 40 years ago that went wrong. And I am grateful that I was involved, because I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you telling you about international logistics as a career path. So the point I want to get over is that it's not what you and I would call a dead-end job. You're expanding all the time, and you can grow with it as much as you want to grow with it. You're not sitting behind a desk, as I was as an import clerk 40 years ago, on a very miserable salary. You grow. You're like a seed. The seed is planted, you water it, and it grows. And it's the same in a career in logistics. It grows if you want it to. It could be static. Some of my colleagues were in their position in a company as the shipping manager for 30 years. And they loved it. They never moved, never aspired to consulting or freight forwarding, as blah, blah, blah. No, they loved it. They just loved it so much that they stayed in that company. So you can progress or you can stay. It all depends on your character. It all depends on your ambition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at possibilities where you can move into to become involved in international logistics, international trade. And I'm going to start with what I was at one stage, a freight forwarder, joining a freight forwarding company. Now, when you join a freight forwarding company, usually they want experience, or at least some academic qualification in logistics. It's so different than my day. So you've got to prove yourself. We'll discuss that later. So freight forwarding offers a wonderful opportunity. You become involved in every aspect of logistics, of international logistics. And I used to say to my students at the university, when they'd say to me, how can we progress now? Academically, we're bang on. But practically, how can we progress? And I said, well, you could apply for a lowly job in a freight forwarding company, take a hit financially for a year if you can afford to. Learn all you can, become a sponge. Learn all you can. Use it as a stepping stone, or stay there. Very rewarding career, freight forwarding. You could apply for a job in a clearing agency, customs clearing agency. Again, I am talking from a UK perspective, and I stress that because in some countries, you need to qualify and sit an exam to become a broker or a clearing agent. So I am quite conscious of that fact. So in a clearing agency, it's more narrow. Your field of expertise is more narrow. It's importing, it's customs clearing, it's talking to customs officers, it's solving problems with importation. But you're learning. You're learning all the time. And again, you can enter as an apprentice, for the want of a better word. Okay, we come to two main ones now for a career path: shipping lines and airlines. Let's start with shipping lines. Many of the big named, and for fairly obvious reasons, I'm not going to talk about particular shipping line companies and give them free advertising. The big boys, the main players, the top 5, 7 main players, they offer apprenticeships, and they are absolutely wonderful. They will take you on. Some of them will require graduates. Again, some of my students, when they were awarded their MBA, they went into shipping lines on my advice. And so some of them will only entertain an apprenticeship for graduates. Others don't. If you're a bright young spark and they think you have what it takes, they will take you on. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's a gift from the gods. You go through a wonderful, wonderful apprenticeship. And you can be there for a year and a half before they release you out into their office and give you a proper job with a proper salary. But if you can attain an apprenticeship with a shipping line, and it's the same with airlines. If you can obtain an apprenticeship, go for it. And if you're thinking of going into international logistics, try it. Apply. I had one student went back to their home base in Toronto, Canada, and I gave them the name of 2 leading shipping lines in Canada. And they applied about 3 or 4 times. And on the 4th or whatever it was time, they were successful with their application. So do try that. With the main freight forwarders of this world, they also have apprenticeships. So try and go online, see what apprenticeships they offer, and apply. It does no harm. As I said, my Canadian student, I think, was 3 times they refused. And then on the 4th, or the last time, they were awarded an apprenticeship. Besides that, and just referring to my notes here, commercial organizations, companies. You can join a company, again, like I did, in a fairly lowly position, because I'm assuming, viewer, that you do not have a qualification in logistics. And to be quite frank with you, academic qualifications in logistics are few and far between, to be quite honest with you. Commercial organizations, companies. Think about it this way. A company can offer you a logistics experience in various departments. For instance, the sales department, the overseas sales department. Yeah, I'm saying sales, and we're talking about logistics, but I'm saying sales. I did say to you in my brief CV that I act as a consultant in many companies worldwide. And one of the departments I talked to, is the sales department, the international sales department, because these ladies and gentlemen are wonderful with product knowledge, with going out to the customer, clinching an order, but they are crummy when it comes to talking logistics speak. For instance, they can be sitting in an office and the potential buyer will say, well, could you quote me CIF on that, please, or XWorks or FCA, in other words, Incoterms. And they just look at them and you go, you what? Okay. So you do in sales, good companies, professional companies in export sales, international sales, always have a backup person or persons in the office who can talk the talk. So if the salesperson is, and I've got to be very careful here with salesman, saleswoman, a salesperson is in the field, they can always get on their mobile and say, Alan, I'm sitting with Joe Bloggs in Dubai and he's talking about a CIF contract. What's it all about? Okay. So commercial sales, international sales department are always, good departments are always looking for people possibly with sales ability, but with international trade, international logistics ability. It's part and parcel. And there's certain areas, for instance, methods of payment. Methods of payment in commercial companies that sell overseas is a very gray area, because the potential buyer will say, I want to pay by cash against documents, documentary collection, or a letter of credit. And not many of the salespeople understand a letter of credit or cash against documents. So in sales, there's opportunities in sales for you, in overseas sales. In the same company, they might have an import and export department. There's always opportunity for good, I emphasize, good personnel. Lots of people are going around getting jobs in exporting and importing, and they will say, I've got 12 years knowledge with international logistics. But they've 12 years knowledge of shipping to one country. Take any country, Poland comes to mind. But 12 years shipping to one country doesn't make you an expert in logistics. So you can approach companies, and if you have experience with different markets, there's always a job for you. Now, we're going, as I speak, we're going through a world pandemic. Contradiction of terms there, but we're going through a pandemic and there's not many jobs around. And I'm speaking from a UK perspective. Not many jobs around. But ships sail. Airplanes fly. Trucks go trucking. International trade still continues. It is one of the areas less or least affected by our present horrible situation. So what I'm putting over to you is there's always need for good people, good trained people in international logistics. Okay, we can see there that you can either work in a commercial company in the export sales department, import-export department. Now, let's just suppose you've gained enough knowledge. You can go on your own, like I did. You see, it's a career path, particularly for you young people. It's a career path. You can start your own consultancy, like I did. You might have the honor, like I did, to work for the UN. You have the opportunity, possible opportunity for world travel, if you like world travel. Or you might be more entrepreneurial. And you might say, to heck with working for somebody else, although I've got a good position in logistics, I want to do it myself. So you could start your own import-export agency, which I did during my career. I can say successfully. It didn't make me millionaire, but successfully, great satisfaction. So you could become an agent. And when you become an agent, or to become an agent, you need bucket loads of logistics information. So I'm going to finish here. And the purpose of this webinar was to get your mind thinking, how about a career in logistics? Alan just said it's not boring. And I can move around. I'm not stuck selling one item or in one job, which I can do in my sleep, with not a dead end future, but with a limited future. Logistics, trust me, logistics is unlimited. Unlimited. You can go here, you can go there, you can become this, you can become that. It's up to you how you progress, but the pathway is there for you. And I would say to any of you watching this webinar that is interested in taking up a career in logistics, please do so. Please go ahead. It's such a wonderful career. It's heartache. You want to go home and kick the cat some evenings after a hard day, but it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. Now, ABTS, we run online courses. We run a course very well received for, I don't know, 12, 13 years now, in import and export procedure. We run a course quite recently. We just ran it out of a demand, letters of credit. And we've just started a course called How to Become an Agent, Commission Agent, a Stockers Agent. Now, if you attended the import-export course, it's written by me, thinking as a person like I was 40 years ago, hadn't a clue what I was doing in logistics. It's written with a person in mind that wants to get into logistics, but doesn't have the practical or academic knowledge. So our import-export course is 100% pure practical. You can go for an interview, and if your interviewer says to you, yes, that's all very well, but you don't have practical knowledge, you can say, no, I don't. I have theoretical knowledge. So if I join your company, I hit the ground running. If you ask me to open a letter of credit, I could do it. I don't have to ask you. So what I'm saying is, if anybody watching this webinar is interested in a career in logistics, I would shout from the highest roof, go for it, go for it, number one. Number two, if you say, well, I don't have the practical knowledge, I would say, go on a course. Go on a course. Lots of courses all over the world. Go on a course. But, of course, I would say to you, and if possible, join our course. Because I'm here to help you as a backup. And our courses are practical courses. So I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to leave you with, I hope, enthusiasm, food for thought. I would like to go into logistics. I don't know where to start. Like I was, an accountant, a trainee accountant. Where do you start? Nowadays, it's much easier. You've got it so easy nowadays. In my day, it was graft. You made every mistake and hoped to goodness your boss didn't fire you. But there you go. That's the way life is. So all I would say to you is go for it. I've given you a few avenues, a freight forwarder, clearing agent, apprenticeships in both of those, apprenticeships with shipping lines, apprenticeships with airlines. And if you don't like to be desk bound, you can work as a salesperson for a shipping line, an airline, a freight forwarder, a clearing agent. You're out all day, you're getting clients, you're talking the talk of international logistics. So there's lots of opportunities. So what I would say is if you're going to go forward into a career in logistics, go for it. Go for it. Stick to it. It will open so many possibilities for you. And don't forget, if you need training, I'm here for you. Go on to our website, abtslogistics.co.uk, and it's all there. And as I say, I'm only too happy to help you. Thank you for watching my webinar. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're going to jump up now, register in a course, and start thinking about a career in logistics. So till my next webinar, I say to you all out there, keep safe and keep well, and goodbye from me.